always believed in traditional family. Man and woman marry, they have and raise children, they remain committed for a lifetime. But every day in the media, the life choices of my neighbours, even in public policy, I seem to be told that I've got it wrong.
The biggest change that's taken place in education over the last generation actually has nothing to do with schools, but everything to do with what's happened to the family.
The pro-family film Irreplaceable is getting such a strong reaction in theaters across Canada and the United States that, well, those theaters are scrambling to offer encore performances of the movie. So it's being re-released this week. The documentary attempts to answer the question, what is family? Jon Mitchell is with the Institute of Marriage and Family Canada, joins us now in Ottawa. And Jon, your organization helped put this on across the country. What I've seen so far is fascinating. I couldn't make it out to the next one. So sell me on going. Tell us the story of Irreplaceable.
Yeah, the documentary was created by Focus on the Family in the United States. Focus on the Family has affiliates all over the world. And so Focus on the Family Canada has been part of promoting that film, and part of the Institute of Marriage and Family Canada, which is a research policy arm of Focus on the Family, which resources families. And so really this documentary was to explore what is happening to the family, what is happening to this ancient institution of marriage and family, and particularly looking at what's happened over the last 50 or 60 years. And so it's been an exploration with Tim Sitzerich, who is from New Zealand, and works for Focus on the Family there, exploring all over the world really to talk to experts and to find out what's really happening to the family.
So is what we're seeing in North America, the breakdown of the traditional family, is that happening around the world, or is this something that happens in North America and Western Europe, in so-called liberal Western democracies?
Well, I think the idea of the family, even from the very beginning, and Tim takes us right back to Plato and Aristotle with competing philosophies about family. So I think the notion of family has always been something that's been debated or controversial. So to see that it's struggling in Western nations in particular, and that's really where the documentary does focus more on Western nations, is maybe not surprising that we have this issue. And certainly we're seeing that in Canada. In fact, if you look at married families, according to the last census, it's about 67% of all census families. It used to be 35 years before that, about 90%. So we've seen a large decline in marriage and a large growth in lone parent families for various reasons. And so we're definitely seeing shifts happening, and that's really what this movie wants to explore. And it sounds kind of depressing, but actually it's a very encouraging movie, a very uplifting movie.
Well, watching the trailer, watching interviews with him, I was not depressed at all. I thought I was intrigued, and I found it interesting. It was one night across North America, about a month ago? Or
that's right, about May 7th, yeah.
May 7th, that this was put forward. And I thought, I can't make it that night. I forget what I had on, but a family commitment, couldn't get out. And I'm glad to see it come back. So there was a positive reaction to it, and theaters filled up.
Yeah, and I think people were pleasantly surprised to find it very thoughtful and thought-provoking. And one of the really interesting things about the movie is that it really engages in people's personal stories, and I think that's where we begin to see hope in it. And surprisingly, in the documentary, the host, his own story comes out, and I don't think he really intended at the beginning of this experience to be talking about his own personal family, but certainly he had relationship issues with his father, who had a very public life one way, but struggled with addiction. And so in the story, we see as he's encountering people like Roger Scruton and philosophers and other academics and thinkers, he begins to examine his own story and his own relationship. And in the end, the clincher is he realizes that we all want to project the best about ourselves, and we all want to project like these perfect families, and yet there really isn't a perfect family. And he realizes it's not about a perfect family, it's about a redemptive family, a place where we can find forgiveness, where we can be gracious to one another, and working on our own families. And so that's how we change the culture outward. Not
judgmental, not condemnation if your family isn't perfect?
Absolutely. It really was hopeful and really encouraging, and I really thought that message of starting with our own family and being gracious and being people of forgiveness and working outwards was at the heart of this movie, and I think that's why it was so positive. I think that's why people were moved by these stories. When we met people that messed up, there's an elderly gentleman there, and he says, I've come so far in my life because I've had so far to come, because I've made all these mistakes in my life, and yet I've been able to with the help of family, be able to turn around and start repairing those relationships. And that's difficult, and that's a long road, but in the end, it was very encouraging for me walking out of the theater.
All right, well, you answered my question, which was, as a person that researches family for a living, did it give you hope? And obviously it did.